Hello everybody, here's what's coming up tonight on Now. A lot of people going back to school, but what if when you go back to school, you're also going into a construction zone? We'll have the story. Lots of eyes still on Hurricane Harvey down in Houston. We'll let you know the best ways you can help out that cause, and we'll talk to some local members of the Coast Guard. They're keeping a close eye on what's going on in Texas. And yesterday, we had the story about Lewiston Middle School banning the use of cell phones. You guys had a lot of questions. We took those questions straight to the principal, and we'll get you some answers. This is News Center Now.
Hitting the books in an active construction zone, how teachers are working to keep Westbrook students focused amid the noise.
I'm nervous, but I think a good nervous.
And it's not just the kids with first day jitters. We'll join this rookie teacher as she stands in front of the class for the very first time. Hello and welcome to Now, everybody. I'm Lee Goldberg. We'll have those stories for you in just a moment. But first, an update on an absolutely tragic story.
Yes, police say the 5-year-old who died in Scarborough on Monday night accidentally shot herself. Investigators say Elise Dorr was in a room with her father, who was keeping a gun inside of a backpack. When the father looked away to adjust the TV, he heard the gun go off. Elise died at the hospital. The gun was not in a holster and did not have a lock on it. Police say this is a sad reminder that gun owners need to make sure firearms are secure and out of the reach of children.
Yeah, please. All right, in other news, it's back to school, whether school is ready or not. That is the reality for Westbrook students and faculty.
Construction is taking place right outside of 2 schools in the Westbrook area, raising concerns about noise distracting students. But rather than work around the problem, students and faculty are embracing it. The first day back in class.
It's a magical time at the elementary school.
But these kids are returning to a much different view outside their windows.
It's something that we've been in the planning stages for about 4 years, knowing that we needed to expand one of our schools and knowing that this was the one to expand.
In December of 2018, this land will hold a new addition with 10 new classrooms. Until then, these nearby construction noises aren't going anywhere.
When they came in today, the first thing they noticed was all of the different vehicles out there.
An easy distraction for an elementary school child, but instead of telling kids to ignore it, teachers plan to embrace the construction as a real-world learning experience.
It's great for the kids to see this process going on and to see what it takes for the construction to happen.
Super job! The kids will be involved in a groundbreaking ceremony this week, and the school plans to have them all sign a beam that will be used to build the new addition.
They were saying excavator, bulldozer. It's added a lot of excitement to the classroom.
As for the noise, school administrators say crews are aware of the curious ears and eyes that are just a few feet away.
They know how to be on site when school is in session to really minimize interruptions, minimize distractions, but at the same time, make this a learning experience for everybody.
It's only day 1, but in the eyes of officials, the benefits these kids will receive from a new building far outweigh the temporary setbacks.
It's going to take some sacrifices to get to the finished product, which is going to be great for all the kids of Westbrook.
Westbrook Middle School is also under construction, but the superintendent says the students have been moved out of the classrooms that would be directly affected by the construction. But hey, it's real world, right? So they're right outside your window.
Plus, if you're into that kind of profession, you get a first-hand experience. It's almost like job shadowing.
Yeah, like Bob the Builder, right?
See, exactly.
That's
Can we fix it?
Yes, we can. I watch cartoons.
I know what my excuse is. What's yours? A new school year means new teachers, and some of them are really, really new.
Dozens of hires are expected to join more than 19,000 teachers in classrooms across the state. Zach Blanchard met one of them today. Zach, did I hear there was a pop quiz involved?
Hey Jess, there may have been a pop quiz, but I'll get to that in a little bit. 22-year-old Gabrielle Bryant is fresh out of Husson University, and she says she's set to teach 2nd grade at Old Town Elementary, where she's been busy putting the finishing touches on her classroom. She admits she's a little bit nervous, but since growing up as a little girl in the town of Herman, she says she's always wanted to be a teacher. So we thought we'd put her to the test.
Because you're from Maine and you're going to be teaching in Maine, I wanted to ask you some questions about Maine. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right. The Maine state tree.
The pine tree state.
What well-known sneaker brand is made right here?
New Balance.
What is Maine's biggest city?
Portland. Not Augusta, it's Portland.
You still weren't sure on that one. How many counties are in Maine?
16. I know the song. I know the song. I'm not singing it though. I am not singing it though.
All right, so sounds like you're prepared to teach these kids about Maine.
So you can see your kids are in good hands. Now you can catch her entire story as well as whether or not she sings the county song tomorrow on the Morning Report. Lee and Jess.
I heard people humming the county song.
Everybody knows the county song if you're actually from Maine.
Keith, do you know the county song?
No, no chance.
Do you know if it's going to rain in the county?
Don't forget, guys, that I try to hide. I don't even try to hide, but people forget I'm from Massachusetts. They let it go. They let it.
Forgiving Mainers.
Yeah.
Some do, yeah.
Some do, yeah. That is true. All right, here's what's going on. We had quite a bit of cloud cover today. That was part of that storm system that we were watching very closely over the past couple of days. Never became a tropical storm, but look at the center of circulation. Earlier today, nice little circulation, probably some gusty winds in the core of this thing. We saw the northwest cloud shield, and in some spots, some rain showers that extended all the way from the center of that low into down East Maine. Light stuff for the most part, and we're clearing out through the rest of tonight. Temperatures are in the 70s where we've cleared out into some sunshine, staying though in the 60s over down East Maine where it's still cloudy and showery. Temperatures tonight will drop down quite a bit, especially when we start to clear out in the next few hours, getting down to right around 50 along the coastline and into the mid-40s as we head to Berlin and Freiburg. 49 should do it in Millinocket. Tomorrow we start with a bunch of sunshine. We start to see a couple of showers though in the afternoon. Quite a bit to talk about, guys, including widespread 30s at some point this weekend.
Getting cold. All right, thanks, Keith. Now, a very important part of this show is listening to what you guys have to say and answering your questions.
Yeah, so yesterday's story about banning cell phones from the classroom at Lewiston Middle School had a lot of you talking. Some of you had some pretty good questions as well. So we took those questions right to the source, Lewiston Middle School Principal Jana Mates.
So the cell phone policy is during school hours. If a student has after-school activities, they are more than welcome to have their cell phone. I think that's when parents are most concerned about the safety component of it, and I'm completely fine with that, especially if somebody is walking home and they want to make sure that they're checking in with their parents. So do I think it's going to stop bullying? No, but during the 7 hours of the day that they're here at school, it's our responsibility to keep them safe, and it's at least a step in the right direction there. And maybe if parents see our message where we're coming from about monitoring the use of social media and they continue with that at home, then it'll be 2 steps in the right direction. So we have lots of accommodations for students that fall under the special ed umbrella. A lot of them are technology based, but I've yet to see an IEP that requires a cell phone. We do have some devices that help with audio and with students that have vision problems, but again, those are all technology that are approved by the school board. And so a lot of teachers do have what we call like cell phone hotels or secure place. We ask that it goes to the homeroom teacher. That's where they start the day and that's where they end the day. Whereas if they were bringing it to each class, I just think the temptation to turn it on in between classes or when they're in the bathroom is when we saw the most unsupervised time. So we're just really asking that they're out of sight. If a kid does not have a lock for their locker and they're not comfortable putting it in the locker, again, the homeroom teacher will hold it in the classroom for them.
Some of you said your child's school always had a no cell phone policy. We checked with some of the state's largest school districts. Bangor and Auburn have a no cell phone policy according to their handbooks or posted policies, but often that policy can be modified by school administrators. So the rules could be different depending on which school you go to or what grade you're in. Portland Public Schools has a more vague policy saying phones cannot disrupt the educational process.
All right, in other news, he may have avoided police for a few years, but officials say they finally got their man. Someone was arrested for spreading sexually explicit photos of underage girls on the Purge of Maine Facebook page. That story coming up.
And that number calling your phone may look pretty familiar because it's your number, and scammers are counting on you being confused enough to answer. Those stories and more when Now returns. Police have linked a man from California to a Facebook page that posted sexually explicit and illegal pictures of girls from Maine. The page Purge of Maine showed nude pictures of local underage girls. It was shut down in 2015 and prompted the State Computer Crimes Unit to launch an investigation. Now, a district attorney in Indiana says Buster Hernandez of California was arrested for making cyber threats to young women in as many as 10 states, including Maine. The Justice Department says in at least 2 cases, Hernandez threatened physical violence if a girl refused to send a sexually explicit picture.
All right, so has this ever happened to you? You get a phone call, but the number that pops up on the screen makes you go, wait a second.
That's like every day for me.
You just shocked somebody's calling.
I know, it's your number calling your number. That's weird. And how is it possible? You may be curious enough to answer, but don't. Nicole Zamak explains why.
Is that you calling?
It's something we're starting to talk about as lookalike calls.
People across the country are getting calls from numbers that curiously look either like their exact same numbers or just a few digits off.
It might pique your curiosity or just your interest, and so that's what the scammer is banking on, that you will pick up the phone.
It's referred to as spoofing, taking a real phone number and using it under false pretenses.
It definitely is a variation of what they call caller ID spoofing. So they're pretending to, not in this instance to be from the IRS on your caller ID, but to be from your phone number.
The person on the other line hopes you'll answer because you recognize the number. Then try to mislead you into thinking they're either a debt collector or try to get you to give up your personal information in other ways. So don't pick up.
That was Nicole Zamak reporting. And now signing up for the Do Not Call list will not block all of the spoofers, but it could help cut down on the number of telemarketers that do decide to give you a ring.
When we come back.
Surprised me that much money came in so quickly.
Your first instinct may be to send everything you can to help families struggling in Texas, but take a minute to make sure you're sending your money to the right place. Chris Costa will show you how.
And are we saying goodbye to what's left of summer? Keith will tell us if we need to let it go next in his full forecast.
People all over Maine are donating to victims of Hurricane Harvey. Now, while many of these fundraisers are well-intentioned, the Better Business Bureau warns that some people may try to take advantage of others who want to give.
In this age of social media, rallying people around a cause can snowball quickly. Sarah Folger is using Facebook to raise money for victims of Hurricane Harvey.
Well, I'm just going to put $1,000 out there and see if people will match it. So
she offered to match donations up to $1,000 of her own money, and now has spurred more than $3,000 in donations to the Red Cross in less than 36 hours.
It doesn't matter if you can only give $10, because all of those $10 contributions add up.
Now, the Better Business Bureau warns people to research where those donations actually end up, since many organizations are asking for money, not goods. See if the charity has an on-the-ground presence in impacted areas, such as the Red Cross. Find out if the charity is providing direct relief or raising money for another group. Try to cut out the middleman. Understand who the money will benefit. Following these could prevent you from sending money to people who do not truly need help.
And our neighbors in Texas will get the help they need, and it's more help than anyone knows at this point, I'm sure of that.
She reminds Mainers of the 1998 ice storm and why she felt compelled to help.
Treat others the way you would want to be treated. If this particular awful shoe were on our feet, we would need help, and we would hope that our neighbors around the country would help.
Now, we have a link to the Better Business Bureau's list of legitimate charities on our website. Many organizations, including the Salvation Army, say that money donations are the most helpful. Clothing or food often cannot make it to the affected areas for some time. If you believe someone is trying to scam others, you should report it to the BBB or your local police department. Now, here's a group that many of you may have seen on social media. The Cajun Navy is a group of volunteers from Louisiana who mobilize when a community is ravaged by floods. Last night on Facebook, they posted a story about a man trying to get home to Maine. According to the post, Mr. Kerry helped the Cajun Navy load up their trucks and boats with supplies for Houston. A group leader was so inspired by Mr. Kerry, he wants to help him get home to Maine. We reached out to the Cajun Navy today to ask if Mr. Kerry was able to make it home, but of course these volunteers are extremely busy and have not had a moment to get back to us with an update. Now, for the last few days, we've been telling you about the Texas Cares Harvey Relief Drive. Already, our parent company, Tegna, has raised over $1 million to help those affected by this natural disaster, and that's thanks to the generosity of people like you. Now, a couple of you have asked us, why is there a 6% charge on my donation, and where is that money going? That 6% charge is pretty standard for these days for large donation campaigns. According to the Red Cross, that money covers their cost for two things: processing the charge from credit card companies and the money they have to pay the website running the campaign. So it works like this. Let's say you donate $10. You can either pay an additional 60 cents to cover the fee, or you can have that 60 cents taken out of your donation. So the donation ends up being $9.40. And a reminder that the money you donate goes directly to the Red Cross Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund. And again, we thank you for the generosity you've shown. Mainers always seem to step up when there's a need. Lee and Jess?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Chris. So day and night, emergency crews from all over the country are searching for families trapped in their own homes. This is video of the Coast Guard transporting a mother and her child to safety. Amid all the chaos of a disaster zone, it can get pretty hectic, but making sure you're calm and doing your job correctly could be the difference between life and death for these service members. We spoke to a Coast Guard member stationed in Maine who, like most service members, is keeping a close eye on what's happening in Texas.
When we see incidents, regardless of what service it is, or any public service for that matter, we always empathize with them because we understand what it takes to be separated from your family in a familiar location and knowingly going into harm's way. Fortunately, a lot of our training is geared towards that because historically we've been involved in a lot of those unfortunate situations. So we try to mimic that training as best as possible, and a lot of our boats and platforms are all standardized, so members can go from, say, Maine to an affected area and be able to carry out those same skills and abilities regardless of geography.
And some of that video we've seen is just, you know, jaw dropping because, you know, they're hovering over the flood areas and they're going down and into the places where everybody else trying to get out of. So.
Yeah, I've been at hotels with just me, Red Cross, more than once in first responders like that. Luckily, our weather, quiet. We actually had a big storm right off the coastline. Take a look at this thing. This thing's a monster, a couple hundred miles to the east of New England. Of course, we felt good about the fact that it was going to miss, but obviously got a lot of the clouds associated with it through much of the day today. Those clouds are going to move out of here tonight as that coastal low goes with it. And then tomorrow we start with a lot of sunshine. A cold front approaches by the afternoon. That will produce some showers in the mountains. I think a lot of this, though, will stay in the higher terrain, as has been the case through much of this summer, right? That's why we have a drought over the coastline and not so in the mountains. That front clears us by late tomorrow afternoon into Friday, and then we get a strong northwest flow. And Friday is a cool day. High temperatures only in the 60s, and most of us are partly cloudy. Saturday is a good looking day, and then we watch the remnants actually of Harvey that'll bring us some rain. Not anything like what they saw in Texas, but us some rain from this on Sunday. So here's your hour-by-hour forecast, starting with the sunshine tomorrow. Most of the showers, you'll notice, tomorrow afternoon do stay in the mountains and across northern Maine. Then Friday, we get the front to our south and east. Most of us are partly cloudy with just an isolated shower across Aroostook County. Saturday looks good, and again, Sunday looks rainy. Take a look at Saturday morning, though. It is going to be cool. A lot of 30s out there, 40s all the way to the coastline, so about 10 to 15 degrees cool for this time of the year. One quick thing I want to show you, which is we already have Tropical Storm Irma way off the coast of Africa here. We'll be watching that closely over the next 7 to 10 days. Computer models tracking that in the direction, at least, of the eastern seaboard at the end of that range, so we'll keep an eye on that. Overall, the holiday weekend is a 2 out of 3 deal. None of the days are stunning, although Monday might be a little bit warmer than originally anticipated, so that could get us into the upper 70s, which I think would make a world of difference. But Sunday, I was not convinced early in the week that it was going to be rainy, but there's just no saving it now. Sunday looks like a pretty rainy day, before we clear out for Monday. Yes?
You know what Meatloaf said? 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
That is true.
Were you going to say that?
I was just hungry all of a sudden. Said Meatloaf. So.
Meatloaf.
Anyway.
Speaking of that, Cindy Williams is here.
Yeah. I would love to know what you're doing.
Terrible transition. But you have a lot going on at 5:30.
Call me Meatloaf, I guess.
That's Jessica Gagne, Gagne. She sits right over there.
My email was about to blow up. It's about to blow up.
Anyway, Meatloaf is here to tell you about what's coming up on News at 5:30. We got a lot coming up. There are so many ways that Mainers are trying to help people in Texas. We're going to look at some more of those, including the reason why one particular group of volunteers feels so connected to one town in particular down there. Plus, bulletproof vests for firefighters.
We're always walking into situations, and we just want to be prepared for it.
We'll tell you how a town in Cumberland County plans to raise money to buy firefighters and EMTs these bulletproof vests, and more on why they feel they need them.
All right, that's at 5:30. Brain Drops after the break.
All right, today's Brain Drops, I got this question a ton over the past couple of days. If Harvey's rainfall was snow, how much snow would it be? So let's talk about this quickly. The basic rule of thumb, everything else being equal in most snowstorms, is that 1 inch of liquid equals about 10 inches of snow. So that's kind of the basic premise behind all of this. So if you take that and you apply that to Harvey, you're talking about 40 feet of snow, right? However, that's not how the atmosphere actually works. So colder air cannot hold as much water vapor as warmer air. Each one of these represents a parcel at different temperatures, 80, 70, 60, 50. And this is the rough capacity of water vapor per kilogram it can hold. So you notice it's 7 grams or so at 50 degrees and 21 grams at 80 degrees. So it is exponentially more able to hold water vapor at higher temperatures. This is something you kind of innately can feel, right, when it's more humid during the summers, that it can hold more water vapor. So a winter storm then would have not the same capability to hold water vapor. It also doesn't have the same fuel. These are sea surface temperatures in August. Look down where Harvey is, right? These are really warm, juicy sea surface temperatures. And now let's go to February when nor'easters occur in the Northeast. Look at that. Okay,
the dark blue.
So that is very cold water. It doesn't have the same amount of available potential energy. There's one last thing. Hurricanes and tropical storms are what are called warm core systems. So warm core systems are getting their energy from the ocean, and it is advecting into the middle part of the storm. That's why you have your eye and eye wall. With a nor'easter, it's what's called, ready for this, a mid-latitude cyclone with a baroclinic zone.
Wow.
So baroclinic zone is an air mass clash between colder and warmer air. So in the Northeast, when a storm stalls over us for days, which happens, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Those tropical storms can get stronger and stronger. So in short, it cannot happen.
All right. Well, I have a headache. All right. That was good.
Is it the baroclinicity?
No, that's a lot of big words.
Yeah.
All right. News Center at 5:30 with Meatloaf coming up next.